Hola, mijos. I have another story. This one is called The King and the Wise Stag. Here's a picture. That's pretty sparkly antlers on that stag, don't you think? Relax. Be very still and listen. Listen carefully to this tale about a beautiful stag called Dinos. He lived deep in the heart of a great forest of giant trees with all his animal friends, until one day everything changed. Do you know what happened? Let's find out. Now, Dinos was no ordinary stag. He was the wisest animal in the forest, and he looked special too. As he had a beautiful amethyst jewel embedded in his forehead and shimmering purple antlers. Well, that explains why they were sparkly, huh? When he woke this particular morning, everything was wet, and droplets of rain shone like diamonds in the grass. There had been a great big storm during the night, and the dark clouds were just scuttling off over the horizon. As the smiling sun arrived in the sky, as usual, Dinos made his way down to the river for a morning drink. But the storm had made the water angry, so it was surging along faster than usual. As he stood watching the raging river, he heard a voice calling, "Help! Help! Please help!" Suddenly a man floated into view, around a bend in the river. He was frantically waving his arms, and every few moments he disappeared under the water, then bobbed up, spluttering. The wise stag thought quickly and called out to the man, "Look up! Grab the branches above you!" The man stretched out his arms, caught hold of a branch, and held on tight. Dinos then waded into the water and said to him, "Take hold of my neck." The man was so shocked to see a stag with shimmering purple antlers and a jewel in his forehead that he let go of the branch. But thankfully, he just managed to catch hold of Dinos, who pulled him out of the water and up the river bank. The man, whose name was Arthur, was soaked and exhausted, but immensely grateful to the kind and wise stag. He thanked him time and time again for saving him and asked what he could do to repay him. "I ask only one thing in return," replied Dinos. "Just give me your word that you will never tell anyone about me or where I live, because there are many wicked and greedy men who will try to hunt me for my jewel." Full of gratitude, Arthur placed his hand on his heart and vowed never to tell anyone about the stag or where he lived. And then Dinos led the man to a path which would lead him out of the forest. Several years passed. One day, the queen of the land, who lived far from the great forest, heard a rumor about a wise and beautiful stag with twinkling purple antlers and a magnificent purple jewel on his forehead. Intrigued, she wished to see the splendid animal, and she asked her husband, the king, to find it for her. Now, the king was a kind of man who liked to please his wife, so he offered a large reward to anyone who could help him catch the special stag. When Arthur heard of the king's search, he was overcome by greed and forgot all about the promise he made to Dinos. He went to the king and led him and his men to the great forest, where they lay in wait for the stag and very soon captured him. The king was overjoyed to have found the beautiful creature and ordered his men to look after the stag well. They tied him to the back of a cart and gave him fresh hay to eat, and the king even went personally to reassure the stag that he would not be harmed. But when he saw the stag, he noticed he was crying. "What's the matter?" he asked gently. "Have my men hurt you?" A single tear ran Dinos's cheek. "No, I've been treated quite well, thank you. But I'm upset because I think that someone may have betrayed me. I'm very careful to keep away from humans. How did you find me?" he asked softly. The king was so dismayed to see the stag weeping that he just pointed to greedy Arthur, who had been trying to hide nearby. The man lowered his eyes and looked at the ground. The king asked Dinos, do you know this man? The stag then told him how he had saved Arthur's life some years before, and the man had promised never to tell anyone about him or to mention where he lived. Then the king, who was honest and just, heard that the stag had been captured only because Arthur had broken his promise. He grew red with anger and ordered Arthur to be taken away and taught a lesson. But the stag, in his compassion, begged the king to forgive the man and let him go. And the king was so moved by the deer's kindness and wisdom that he agreed. Then he released the stag and invited him to come meet his wife, the queen, who was so eager to see him after all she had just heard about him. Dinos agreed, and they all returned to the castle. The queen and the stag soon became firm friends. She loved to feed him his favorite grapes, and he appreciated her gentle kindness. At last the stag felt safe, no longer fearing that he would be hunted for his valuable jewel and antlers. Before long, Dinos became the king's most trusted advisor, helping the monarch to rule the kingdom fairly and wisely by honoring promises made to his subjects and never allowing him to be influenced by greed. That's a pretty good story, huh? What do you think today's moral is? Let's see what it says. By keeping promises and being kind and forgiving, we make the world a better place for everyone. A wise person shows compassion for others, even when they have been hurt by them. That's some wise words. It's difficult to forgive somebody who hurts us, huh? But I think we can all manage it. I love you, mijos. And now we'll talk to you later. Bye.